Well, good morning like Rini says, and welcome everyone to the Women's Coffee Club. We've created this club to provide a safe place for women to share and inspire each other. My name is Victoria De Winter, and our weekly host, Rini Ledgerwood, being in Las Vegas at the moment, it is my pleasure to host the club this morning. So today we are delighted to have with us Tamara Oswald. She will be sharing with us on the subject of marriage and more specifically, how to transform a broken marriage. A topic that I am very fond of, that I see more and more with my clients, that people are breaking up. Now, before we start today's presentation, Tamara, tell us about your background and then proceed with your presentation. We will also allow some Q&A time at the end. And I am certain we're going to have multiple of questions percolating in our minds. So that being said, I'm going to let you take it away. Ladies, Tamara Oswald.
Well, good morning, and thank you for that wonderful presentation, introduction. And well, I am Tamara Oswald, as heard already. I am a marriage recovery coach, and the reason why I decided to do this was because years ago, my marriage was struggling, and I found some really great ways to transform it, just as I'm going to show you in this presentation. And well, I'll tell you more when we get in there. How's that sound?
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Tamara.
Are you seeing the notes?
We're seeing the presentation.
You don't see the notes?
The notes, yes. And it says, thank you for being here.
Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Give me just a second. I apologize.
It's a good learning curve. So that's what this group is about.
Oh, I think I know what I did wrong. Okay.
I love your picture, Sue.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. Right. And we're not screen sharing yet, right?
Nope, not yet.
If you can see this side, boy. Just trying to get this one side to go smaller so I can see both sides. Okay, now when I want to screen share, zoom. Okay, how's that one?
That is wonderful. Love it.
Oh, did it. All right. So thank you for being here. And I am really excited to share with you this journey that I've been on. It's been exciting. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, I am Tamara Oswald, and I am the marriage recovery coach, and I'm so glad to be here today. When life brings two people together in a marriage, it brings our individual thoughts and our individual habits and things that can really either hinder each other's growth or it can help it. Several years ago, I went through a very difficult point in my marriage, and I tracked a lot of that back to past generations. I knew I didn't want to continue the same pattern, so I decided that I was going to change up some things. So I knew I needed some new ways of thinking. After years of study, I have learned some great ways to transform marriages. And today I'm going to teach you 5 things I did to overcome all of the abuse and setbacks that caused me a lot of pain. In the process, I transformed my grumpy, overbearing, and selfish husband into a loving and supportive best friend. It took me many years, but after several degrees and a lot of coaches and coaching others, I found my passion, and it is to keep families together. And this is important to me because as a former school teacher, I've seen how divorce affects children. You may be thinking that there is no hope for you right now, but I'm here to show you how it only takes one person in the relationship to transform your marriage. I'm going to share all I can in this short amount of time that we have together. And at the end of the presentation, I promise to leave some time for Q&A and a gift. But first, let me tell you a little bit about me. Like many women my age, I had a messed up childhood. I was raised by an abusive alcoholic, and during the imperative years of learning how to make choices, I had the worst time. I didn't know it then, but these years formed behaviors that stuck in my subconscious as I went into adulthood. I thought that since I made it through all of the horrors of being molested and beaten, kidnapped, that I was strong and I was a survivor. And I was. But there was more to it. The reality is, it took a toll on me. That wouldn't become known until later, when I did all this self-work that I had done. The years that affected me most were when my mom's third husband would come home drunk and randomly start yelling at us, and many times would either punch, slap, or beat either my mom or myself. In order to stay on time, I'll leave it there. So he was in my life from the age of 7 until the age of 15, when he decided to shoot himself in the head. But by this time, the damage had already been done. Because he was so random and violent, I didn't have a good structure or a good way of handling him or other people. So we moved often because he needed alcohol more than rent money. So I had to change schools often, which took away that structure as well. I did learn how to get really good at reading people's energy levels, mostly his. And many times I was able to make a quick exit and go outside before things escalated. A few of the biggest emotions I took with me in adulthood were fear of failure, fear of rejection, not being good enough, and the inability to speak my truth. Does anyone ever have any of these thoughts that plague your life? I understand. So that is why I'm going to teach you this. Too many marriages are falling apart because of things they had no control over. The day before I turned 21, I married the man I had manifested. When we got married, we were both very intent on being married forever. His parents were married for 30 years already, so he was sure he was going to follow in their footsteps. My mom was married 5 times, and I was intent on not following in her footsteps. We had a dream of our 30th wedding anniversary. We were going to walk the beach of Hawaii, holding hands and be in love like we were teenagers. Probably a lot more wrinkly by then, but it was my dream. It wasn't long before he started getting stressed out, and I started taking the back seat to his job, friends, family, and desires. He would have the same mannerisms sometimes as my stepfather when he would get upset. So I did my best to keep peace at the house. I knew I had come from the family that was, to say it nicely, is dysfunctional. So I thought I was being oversensitive. So I decided to go back to school and learn how to function effectively in this world. This work worked for me for many years because as long as I was distracted from the relationship, we were happy. But after I earned my master's degree, I didn't have all the distractions anymore. That is when I started to realize that our relationship was in deep trouble, and it wasn't just me. The arguing got so bad that I said, "That's it. I am done." Right after our 25th anniversary, I found myself walking out the door with my suitcase. 25 years of being married, and it didn't matter what I did. It was never good enough. As I'm walking to my car, I'm telling God all these things that I had done to make this marriage work. I was complaining about how he ignores me all the problems and expects me to solve them. He doesn't clean up after himself, always leaving dishes behind. He always puts me last, work, his family, friends, and his wants are met while mine just sit on the back burner. The worst part is I didn't have time to do the things that I wanted to do because I'm always taking care of the house, the bills, the kids, and working in full time. And since we're here with all these women who are parents and wives, and I'm sure that you've all had these kind of feelings, right? Yeah. Have you ever felt like any of these have happened in your relationship? The funny thing is, I went to school for many things. Psychology and communication included. So I thought I would have a fruitful relationship with my husband, but we still couldn't make it work. Have you ever been so frustrated that everything someone did comes flooding back to you in an instant? At this point, so I'm walking out the door, I couldn't even think of a good thing he had done. So I had packed my suitcase and threw it in the car. And as I was reaching for the driver door handle, I made one last statement. I have done everything I can and I am leaving. And I didn't know where I was going to live, but I knew I wanted to be in a tropical weather and as far away from him as I could get. Just as I reached for the door handle to start the car, I heard a voice say, "You haven't tried everything yet." As you can imagine, I was like, "What?" I was looking at this guy and I said, "I have." And I proceeded to tell God all the things that I just told him again. And I was like, "You've seen everything I went through. I nearly killed myself bending over backwards to please him. And it works." Raise your hand if you ever felt this way. But arguing with God doesn't usually go well for me. It doesn't. He just repeats the same thing over and over again. You haven't tried everything. About then, it hit me. I knew what he was talking about. Then the realization set in. So picture this, a middle-aged woman standing in the driveway arguing with the sky. If anyone was watching, they probably thought this woman has done lost her mind. I opened the back door, pulled out my suitcase, and started dragging it back into the house. I was grumbling the whole time. This is how the conversation went. "Okay, fine. How long do I need to try this for? I don't want to waste another year." So many things were going through my mind at that time. Eventually, I calmed myself down using the techniques I'm about to show you here. When my husband got home, I expected him to be a jerk, probably because I felt like a jerk myself, but he wasn't. He just ignored me like he did most days. I was glad this day because I really didn't want to be there. It didn't take long before I asked him a question, and then we started arguing again. But something was different this time. I didn't feel like I needed to defend myself. So I stopped in mid-argument and I said, okay. And I walked into my office. About this time, I remembered this quote by Einstein. You cannot solve a problem on the same frequency in which the problem was created. I'll explain a little bit more in depth about frequency in a minute. I knew I needed to get on a different wavelength, a different frequency. So I leaned on the years and years of schooling, self-help books and seminars, but mostly on the things I learned from the communities of the coaches that I've surrounded myself with. Learning to master the energy of higher frequency took a little time, but once I did, I was able to change the dynamic in our relationship and in our finances. So let me explain a little bit about frequency so you understand a little more of what it has to do with our human experience. People who come from abusive backgrounds usually feel contracted in their bodies. So if you look at the chart here, you'll see that on the right-hand side is a contracted and at the bottom. And those frequencies carry steps. We carry these things in our body that keep us in that lower frequency, such as guilt, fear, shame. Can you see the numbers on the left-hand side? Those represent the level of frequency. So the lower than 100 is the suffering. So right in the middle, you'll see the suffering in that orange yellow color. That is why it feels like when we're spinning our wheels and we're getting nowhere because we're stuck in that vibration, that frequency. The next level is where people hang out. Most people hang out. This is where we come home, we cook dinner, we're doing okay, but not going to work and not doing the things you would love to do or going the places that you would love to go. We get stuck in these routines and mindsets that limit us. It's okay, but it's not great. This stage is better than suffering, but there are some higher levels that let you truly enjoy life. Have you ever said, there has to be more to life than just this? Well, I toggled between getting by and suffering for a long time until I learned about these frequencies. So we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Everything is made up of energy. If you look at your hand through a microscope, you'll see that the cells are basically matter. Matter is created by atoms, which is energy. We are all here for a purpose. And understanding that will help us understand where we are, where we fit in the world, and what frequencies we want to be on. We're all different. We carry different talents. Wouldn't it be a boring world if we all did the same thing all the time? But I will save that one for another talk. Now, the best place to be is in the frequency of love. So you can see at the frequency chart, it's 500 or above. 500 is love. And then you have joy, peace, and then enlightenment. The more we're in this state of love, the more good we see come into our lives. Eventually, we want to get to enlightenment, but I was told that that only happens when you die. But I've heard that monks and shamans also have made it to enlightenment and still lived. So I still hold hope for myself. So it is very rare for someone to jump from the bottom of the scale to the top of the scale without some work. Unfortunately, I've done most of the work for you and put all those years of blood, sweat, and a lot of tears into a program where you will start getting results immediately. So the first tool, and possibly the most important tool I want to bring up, is notice our thoughts. When we're growing up, we take in a lot of information. Our thoughts are typically influenced by this information. In fact, from the ages of 0 to 6, all the information is just gushing into our subconscious and without any filter. All these things that have happened are sitting in our subconscious and they run our lives without us even knowing it. We think what is happening in our lives is normal until we come across a situation or a circumstance that forces us to want to change, such as like a health scare, death in the family, losing a job. Happy moments can also help. So you could have things as like having a baby and getting married, and those things will help you want to change. But the thinking behind it is stored in our deep subconscious. Have you ever wondered why you do the things you do or react the way that you react? Well, this is the reason. Our subconscious holds the beliefs we have. Those beliefs cause a way of thinking that is in line with those beliefs. Television, friends, social media, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and so many more influence our thoughts as we're growing up. The thoughts cause us to feel. Feelings are just a frequency, as we just saw. They can be as low as guilt and shame, and they can be as high as peace and joy. These feelings we experience cause us to act or react. Our actions cause the results we are getting in our lives. It's not until we target those deep-seated thoughts and beliefs that we make a real change. This is what I've helped many women do, and now they have lasting change. But I could not have done it. I could have not have helped them without first doing it for myself. All that just to say, we can only find out what is truly caught in our subconscious by first noticing the thoughts that we think. And just to be clear, these thoughts are not right or wrong. They just are. So don't do anything with them just at first. Just notice them. The second tool is to use your breath when things come up that upset you. Studies have shown when we breathe in a certain way, it calms our nervous system, allows us to think clearer, and make sound choices. Kirsten Wells of the Harvard Institute had worked with people for years in this area with much success. This certain way is to breathe in through your nose and until your breaths, your chest and your belly are full of air, and then let it out like you're blowing through a straw. Let's do that together. In through the nose, filling up your chest and cavity. And then blow out like you're blowing through a straw. While you're breathing, imagine that you are blowing out the stress of the problem that is coming up for you. And imagine while you're breathing in, this golden and peaceful light is filling your soul. She recommends doing this practice 3 to 5 times when you're in any difficult situation. Which brings me to the next tool that is very, 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 very important to raise our frequency. The art of gratitude. So a great practice is to, well, first, remember gratitude is on the same level of frequency as love. So when we get our minds constantly in a gratuitous feeling, then we are in that same level as love. And remember, when that comes back, that will come back to you, that kind of feeling. So let's get a journal or a notebook, and at night, before you go to bed, you could sit in your bed or you could do it before you go to bed. Just write down 5 things that you are grateful for that day. When I first started this, I couldn't think of anything to be grateful for. And I'm laying on the floor crying, thinking I don't have anything to be grateful for. And then as I looked up through my tears, I noticed the sheet on my bed. And I said, I have a sheet. That means I have a bed. I have a bed to sleep in. That was my very first gratitude that I wrote in my journal. And then it went on to, I have a house, I have dogs, things like that. So I have a toilet to go to the bathroom in. There's a lot of people in this world that don't have that. So whatever comes up for you, just write it down and do something different every night. Five of them every night. And then on the following morning, read them again so that it sets your frequency up for the day, because we have this thing called the reticular activating system, and it will keep looking for things to be grateful for because you started the process. And try it for 60 days and see if it helps and makes a difference. So most humans do think in pictures. For example, think of your front door. A picture came to mind, right? Maybe it was the color of your door, but it wasn't the word D-O-O-R. It was the actual picture of the door. Same is true when we are thinking of an event or a moment in time that we would love. Now, take a moment and think of something that you are interested in doing, maybe a craft or a hobby, or going out. Imagine that your partner is with you. Now, while you're doing that, surround yourself with the feeling of love, because here he is doing it with you and you love that energy, right? Okay, now notice this moment, and that you can come back to this picture anytime you want or need to. For instance, when my husband and I were going through some of the toughest parts of our marriage, I would stop what I was doing and go into my room and close the door. Then I would sit quietly and visualize that we were getting along and that we were happy and we were going on hikes together and doing things together that we love to do. By the end of 2 weeks, I went from that moment of walking out the door, 2 weeks later, we were getting along and we were having good conversations. At the end of 4 weeks, we were having great conversations and really enjoying each other. So the next method is to be mindful of the language we are using. Words are so powerful. Coming from a volatile family where there was constant fighting, they used to do a lot of name calling, put downs, random fist to the face. I didn't like it, but I had to live through it. Even though I made every effort not to be like my aunts and my uncles and my stepfathers, I caught myself using the same language as they did. I wasn't abusive, well, but I thought it was funny. So they would always say things like, men are lazy, no good for nothing jerks, or men are babies when they get sick, or your mom is a bitch and she doesn't do anything, and stuff like that. They don't have those words. They don't have the energy of love. So we when I learned about this, I really had to catch myself thinking them and then throw it out as quick as I could. And I didn't believe these things, but I did find myself mocking people, and then I had to quickly throw it out. I was like, the universe is very literal, because when I was saying these things, they started to show up in my marriage and in my relationships. So no wonder none of the women in my family stayed married very long. So these words, they are calling in the behavior we expect on a subconscious level and an energetic level. So instead of saying those types of words, let's really call in the things that we want in behaviors. I want my husband to help me around the house. I want to go and do fun things together, travel together, and just be exciting together. Those are the words that we're calling in. And there's no shame in what has happened. Like I said, I went through what I was taught. But when we know better, we do better. Maya Angelou, I love that saying because it gets us off the hook a lot. Like, it takes us from that shame and guilt, and it raises, okay, I didn't know better then, but I do know better now, and thank you. All right, many of us think that forgiveness is letting the other person off the hook. And one of the most important things is that we do need to forgive. We need to forgive ourselves as well as our partners. Forgiveness isn't for the others, though. It's for yourself. Forgiveness doesn't say what you did is all right. Forgiveness says, I won't allow that to control me anymore. When we don't forgive, then we give our power over to other people. So when we forgive, we're just doing it for ourselves. And that's okay. That means that you're in control, not them. Well, that was a good slide there. By using these tools, I have transformed my failing marriage back into the respectful, kind, loving, and supportive relationship that I'd always wanted, but I didn't know I could get. Oh, and do you remember when I said I wanted to go to Hawaii for our 30th anniversary? But I didn't think we could because we were getting divorced. Well, my husband surprised me with tickets to spend a week in Hawaii, where we explored the entire island of Oahu. We didn't walk on the beach, though we did walk on several beaches, holding hands like we were teenagers. But while we were on our ride over on the plane, Kelly decided to manifest with me. He had gotten the cheapest rental car that he could afford. And when we got on the plane, he said, I sure hope that we can get a Jeep and ride around Hawaii with the top off. I was like, sure, that would be nice. And then I said, I hope that we get to go see the dolphins. And he said, sure, that'd be all right. When we got there, the rental car place was out of the car we rented, and they gave us a 4-door Jeep, and we rode around that island with the top off. Then we called a family member to ask if he knew a good place to go see the dolphins. And he hooked us up with a great team, and we got to see a bunch of dolphins and sea turtles. This year will be our 33rd anniversary, and we are going stronger than ever before. See whoops. This picture of the double rainbow was the first day that I was there. And I was so excited because I was like, that's my promise that things are going to get better. So how many of you have found this information useful today? And if you have and would love, thank you. And if you would love to go deeper into the study of marriage recovery so you may save your relationship, then I have a gift for you. I am offering a free 30-minute Recover Your Marriage call. We will get clear if your marriage is savable, and if so, you will walk away with a clear plan to save it. So my calendar link is on the next page, so feel free to set up a time and to speak with me. Thank you for coming today, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. If you have any questions?
Well, Tamara, all I can say is that this presentation was very touching.
Oh,
and I know it touched all of us because the subject of marriage is, I think, so dear to women. We're the nurturers. If you don't mind, maybe your link, if you want to put it in the chat for everyone. So this way they could copy paste somewhere, or that was wonderful. But what a touching presentation. And I loved all the different tips you gave, and especially the gratitudes one. I remember in my personal life going through gratitude. One day a friend of mine, came around and she said, oh, we need to give gratitude. And I'm like, what? I mean, what? Taking the time to be grateful. And so that was really illuminating and touching presentation. I'm sure many of you have questions. Raise your hands so this way I can call upon you. And who has a question here for Tamara or a comment? Go ahead, Sue. Carol.
Tamara, thank you, first of all, so much for opening up about your past and sharing your story. It's just so powerful when a woman has overcome so much and refocused her life and has taken charge and is thriving. That's like such a beautiful thing to me. So thank you for that, for starters. Really, really love that. And the gratitude part really stuck with me the most. I try to practice gratitude daily as well. My husband and I went through a really rough time, and I also considered leaving him. We're amazing now. So let me say that. And he's amazing, right? But a big part of that was getting out of that negative talk and negative thought. So a lot of it was in my head, even if I didn't say it out loud, but just reframing, rephrasing, and practicing gratitude just made all the difference. So I really appreciate you sharing everything in that part. Like I say, really hit me in the heart because kind of having been there, it's powerful to hear
How long
somebody
ago
else.
was it for you?
I'd say it's been 2 years since we've fully healed. It was a process. There was a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
but it's amazing. Like I couldn't ask for a better man. He's incredible. Like I'm so grateful that we stuck it out, and we've been married 34 years. So, but I had great role models. My parents have been married 64 years. So it
Well,
was
I am
great.
so happy for you. That's so
Yeah.
awesome. I love
But
to hear that.
But what you overcame is just amazing. That's very inspiring to me. And I'm inspired by your story and your journey and where you're at now and that you're helping other couples. It's just such a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue, for your comments and addition to this time. Carol.
Uh,
Oh, you're muted.
my computer is so sensitive that even if the cursor is right above something, it turns it on or off. Tamara, yes, I just want to echo what Sue said. Incredible journey on your part from childhood to where you are now, helping women. Very wonderful and beautiful and much needed service that you have. And I'm always interested in gleaning anything that I can get about relationships, about, the human dynamic. So my husband and I have, I've known him 45 years. We dated for 2 years of that. We lived together 2 years of that. And then we're married 41 years. So, of course, it's been a journey, up and down. And when you begin at, when you marry, you have the most optimistic of visions, but we evolve, and he certainly did. And it throws you off, right? When you evolve at different paces.
It does, yes.
So the biggest, and I love all of your, well, what I want to say is you hit it all on the head, all of the techniques. So as a yoga instructor, I've come to a lot of those techniques, just wanting to not work on my marriage, but work on myself. And then I realized that when we work on ourselves, then we're bringing the best of ourselves to our marriage,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how it started. That's how it evolved for me, not wanting. And then the biggest thing that helped me was to. So I came across the concept of taking responsibility for my own happiness.
Mhm.
And when I did that, that was the biggest thing that turned things around for me, right? Instead of blaming him or being impatient or irritated and all of that stuff, I had to turn it back on myself. What can I do to take responsibility for my own happiness? And so I have a best friend. I don't want to take up too much time, but I have a best friend that I used to complain to, he's this and he's my girlfriend. He's this and he's that. He's da, 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 da. And then I came across the concept of taking responsibility for my own happiness. And she saw herself, my best girlfriend, she saw herself how I changed. And lately she's like, Carol, I'm so proud of you because I don't waste the time that I used to getting upset with him and all of that stuff. So I started booking my own trips, finding my own girlfriends to go on trips with because he doesn't travel anymore. So last night he said, he said, "You're going to Portugal for 2 weeks without me?" I said, of course, because you don't travel. He said, who said that? I said, well, really? Where are we going? He said, Italy next year.
Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, time, of course, I had a lot of time to get to this place. So Tamara, my tribute to you, you will be helping women to get to that place sooner and faster than it took me. A whole 43 years.
That's my goal, is to do that and to help the family stay together, because it's so sad when the
Yeah.
children are the ones that are caught in the crossfire,
Yes.
So, but sometimes, it doesn't work, but most of the time, if you use these techniques,
Yes.
it's like you said, you work on you,
Yeah.
and then everything outside, because we're all energy, everything outside of us comes together. It's one of the things that I have just really been understanding and growing into so much recently. And I'm just like, I feel like these particles in energy now, it's like I could just like
I have one more thing. One more thing. This is the straw breath tool.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, you can get it from Amazon. It's
Uh-huh.
like, I got it for like $7, $6 or $7. I think now it's up to $10. So,
Uh-huh.
so
I love it.
yeah, comes
And it
on a
just goes
chain.
right through.
Yeah. Yeah, or you can just use a straw.
Yeah.
Carol, is that this little, this little tool that you have for this breathing or inhaling, is that to initiate the, what you call you guys in yoga, the Ujjayi breath?
No, no.
Oh,
Ujjayi breath is a certain technique that you have to go all the way to the back of your throat. No.
and that's the one I do that I found for me is
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome. Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hey, Carol, my daughter's name is Carol. Every time I see your name up there, I'm like, oh, Carol's here.
Good. Anyone, Joey, we know you have a big family, a husband and all. Give us some thoughts here.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much, Tamara, for sharing that. I really got inspired. Um, I love the fact that you took care of your self development and self growth because most of our adult issues stem from our childhood. And if we don't take care of that, we bring that baggage to all our relationships. And but for my husband and I, we've been married for 25 years, and modesty aside, we really have a perfect marriage. Perfect because it's based on our own standards and not anybody else's. So it's perfect for us. We're best friends, and we both journey to self growth, and that's why we jive. We teach the law of attraction to our children as young as when they were babies. So, but it's really being intentional. I came from a broken family, and I vowed that if I get married, I wouldn't have that kind of relationship. My family would be my priority. So I guess it was because of that, right? Because I didn't want my children to experience broken family. And I remember Tony Robbins saying, trade your expectations with appreciation. So that's one tip that I follow in our marriage. So, let me share with you one of the most effective technique I do to easily forgive or forget. And this is not just with my husband, but also with my family and friends. Since I am from the insurance industry, it's kind of morbid, but it's super effective. I imagine that they're gone. I imagine they're dead. And I evaluate my feelings and emotions then. And then I ask myself, should I let this petty misunderstanding get in the way of our relationship? If something happens to either one of us, will this be our last conversation together? Will this be our last memory? So, like I said, it's morbid, but it's very, very effective because the question to ask is, if this is your last conversation, your last memory, are you okay with that? So then, if you try to evaluate things, oh, this is just a petty misunderstanding, it's a petty quarrel, so you just let it go, right? So I guess when we practice the law of attraction, and again, the definition is it starts with a thought and it gives you a certain feeling, and that feeling emits a certain vibration, and that vibration is the one that attracts to us, right? So when we have misunderstanding, when we have quarrels, I it has to have some deadline, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because then I know I'm aware that if I continue with that kind of emotion, like anger or annoyance or whatever negative feelings, then I would attract more of that, and I don't want that. So
Yes.
since we are aware of the definition of the law of attraction in our family, we really practice that. You know that, and we've taught you that yeah, gratitude is actually number one in our family. We taught our children because we homeschool them, so that's our English subject for them to write five grateful things in the morning. So I mean, until now, they've been doing it. I mean, it's already a practice in our family. So, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, and I really appreciate all the tips that you have given.
Oh, thank you. I got some good tips from all of you as well, just from this Q&A.
All right, just thank you so much, Joey, for your input, which is so valuable. We like to listen to what you have to say for sure. Jasmine is putting something in the chat. There's a lot going on in my background. So here's her comment. As someone who is not married yet, I really appreciated the tools I can begin to use even more. I am married to prepare me for marriage. As it was said earlier, if I work on myself, I will bring my favorite self into the marriage. Thank you so much for your willingness to do the work so that you can help others.
Thank you, Jasmine. And I love that you are about to do the work before you get into a relationship, because then you start off already great and it just gets better from there. Good job.
Fantastic.
That makes me happy. That gave me chills.
Well, let's see. We are 8 minutes from the hour, and I'm gonna. Oh, thank you so much, Jasmine, also for your input. 8 minutes from the top of the hour. As I was listening to you guys, also comments and yeah, or the comments about marriage, things came into my mind as well, and I have started a relationship, long distance relationship with someone, and that I'm working with as well. And we're discovering we have the same goals because the two of us have worked. We're working on ourselves because I tested him through a few things, books that he said, I'm reading. I'm like, what you reading? It's like, oh, this. I'm like, oh, okay. And so we have the same subject, although he reads other things as well. But doing the work before getting into a relationship, I think it's definitely a big bullet points here. But at one point in time, we were having this conversation, And I know that one book in my life that opened my heart chakra to be able to be, because I was getting out of a marriage and I was divorced. I was getting my own apartment and all that. So that happened, the separation happened. But I read that book, The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukav. That was a transformative book that I read. And so I shared that with him, and he answered me. He said the book that I liked a lot about marriage. So that's why I want to share it also with you guys. And a lot of things that Tamara also that you mentioned are correspond. Like, for example, being best friends. It's a big foundation. Coming to the realization, I'm like, we're in it. So we might just be best friends and do our best to bring the best out of the other person, not changing the other person, but bringing the best out of them by being, the best of who we can be as well. So I'm gonna write it in the chat because I want to share it. Maybe you know about it, actually, Tamara. It's called The 7 Principles for, did I write? Yes, for making marriage work. And that is by Dr. John Gottman.
Mm.
Yep. Okay, Tamara, it rings a bell. Perfect.
Mhm.
And he has the not Gotten,
Yeah, TH.
Gottman, M-A-N, Gottman. There we go. And he owns the Gottman Institute. The what I read about him in this book is that he built a love lab, and in that love lab, it's a love apartment. And so couples who wants to go to couple therapy, which says worked quite a bit in a way, but he's adding another component to it, is that those people in that love lab, so they are, cameras, microphones, but this couple is asked to behave just the way they behave. So they can be analyzed, body language, words that they use during, whatever. And I think that the test was lasting quite a bit of time. So this way, the Dr. Gottman could see if the problem that was created among the couple would escalate towards a divorce or would go, into remission and problem solved. So the person, could evolve. And he mentioned he did also scientific test in a way, a medical test, putting some hormone test level when people were agitated in their relationship or whenever they would find a solution. Blood pressure, of course. Wait a minute, I just started the book, so I don't know how it ends. But friendship is a big, huge, being best friends and being willing. My mentor Bob says, we got to be ready and we got to be willing to do it.
Mhm.
And in the name of love, please let's do it. If we love someone dearly, if we realize that, I think a lot of good can emerge to the life that we share with someone. And although like I said, I'm not living with someone, and I have my own apartment and happy to be like this anyway, because I have my own space. So that's
I found a lot of women that they like their own space. So they'll have their own house, and then their husband would have his own house. I'm like, wow, I don't know.
You can sleep over. Yeah, let's
Yeah. But that works for them,
Right.
like who's to say that one way is more right than the other? What works for you is what you find out during this process. And then when you get there, then you're like, this is great. Let's keep doing this.
Yeah. When love is in the air, love is in the air, right?
Yeah.
Good. I wanted to add also, unless anybody else wants to make a comment,
I have a really quick comment and then I have to go.
please do.
Yeah, so I can recommend a book also. It's called Making Sense of Men.
Mm.
And yeah, and it's all about the feminine, masculine mystique. Women are built one way and men are built another way. So if we understand how men are built, we won't expect them to be just like women.
Well, I just have to know that everybody is their own individual. Like that's what I had categorized men in a certain way, you know, lazy, don't pick up after themselves, that kind of stuff, you know. And I categorized that. And when I finally realized that that's what I was attracting out of him, like Victoria said, like, you know, bring the good out of him
Yeah.
by, or Joey said it actually, where you would, instead of trying to change him, you bring the good out and what you want. Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, thank you.
Well, some of the good things that the way that men are built are they're built hardwired to be protectors,
Mhm.
to be providers. I mean, the women can make more money, but the men are. So if we appeal to those higher qualities in them, they will rise to it.
Mhm.
So that's what
Yeah.
that book, that book,
Yeah.
Making
That's
Sense of
also
Men.
the you know, like if you could go back to like when we were caveman days, you know,
Yeah, that's where
you
it
know,
comes from.
yeah. So that's in a, you know, presentation that's longer.
Yes,
The whole
exactly. So
process of women and men. So yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
they
thank
can
you.
rise to it. Yes.
Yeah. All right, now I got two good books I gotta read.
Isn't
Oh,
that
it's a thin little pamphlet. Quick
Okay.
read.
excellent? Joey, thank you so much, Carol, for coming back on the
Yes,
conversation.
thank
Okay,
you.
gotta go. Great
Bye. Thank you
meeting.
for
Bye-bye.
coming.
You can also try I don't know if you've heard of the five love language.
I have that one.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that with my husband and our kids. So we are very big in you know, the tests, the psychological tests, the
Mhm.
DISC training, different personality tests. So it helps with the relationship if you know your own personality, and then you'd be able to accept the other person's personalities, different personalities of each person. So
You
it
know, I
helps.
just recently took the disc test and I didn't give it to him yet, but I think I'm gonna do that. And I also have the five language test, so I'm gonna do that too. Make him take it. No.
All right. Well, ladies, we are just past the hour. It is perfect. Thank you so much, Tamara. Definitely an amazing, touching. We know who you are and we love you for it. So I think each one of us saw ourselves in you in all that you mentioned. I personally did. Next week, we will be with Amanda Slade to learn how to elevate our energy and consciousness. So now Amanda will share ancient wisdom and spirituality, grounded steps, and provides what she says a solution for our soul, the solution for our soul to energize, elevate, and evolve in all areas of our life with more and better results. So thank you again, Tamara. It was a delight to have you. Thank you all also for being at the Women's Coffee Club today. And then see you next week. I'm going to see the stones.
Have fun.
Oh, yes. Take care, you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.